The night was soft, draped in silver moonlight that spilled over the quiet streets of Lagos. Beneath that glow, Amara stood by the worn-out gate of her family's mansion, tears shimmering in her eyes as her mother's voice echoed like a final verdict. "You have brought shame to this family, Amara. A daughter of ours cannot marry a nobody." The gates slammed shut, leaving her outside, her suitcase half open, heart torn apart, and dreams scattered like the dry leaves at her feet. She turned, trembling, and there he was, Chike, the man who had stolen her heart not with gold or gifts, but with his humility, his quiet strength, and his unwavering belief in love. He held out his hand to her, his face illuminated by the streetlight. "Amara," he said softly, "if love is all I can give you now, I promise it will be enough until I can give you the world." She hesitated only for a breath, then placed her hand in his. And that was how their journey began, not in luxury, but in sacrifice. For months, they lived in a small apartment tucked in the heart of Ajagunal, its walls cracked, its floor bare, but filled with laughter and warmth. Chike worked long hours at a mechanic shop, while Amara sold handmade jewelry by the roadside. They shared simple meals, dreams whispered in the dark, and promises to never let the world define their worth. But behind those quiet days lay secrets neither of them spoke about. Because Chike was not who everyone thought he was. At night, when Amara slept, he would sit by the window and check his phone, messages from men in suits, reports from companies, and reminders for meetings scheduled under a name no one in Ajagunal knew. Chike Obiniju Okafor, heir to the Okafor Group, a vast business empire spanning oil, real estate, and global investments. He had hidden his identity deliberately. For years, Chike had grown tired of women who only saw his money, tired of fake smiles and shallow hearts. He wanted someone who would love him for who he truly was. And in Amara, he had found that purity. But now, as he watched her struggle, he wondered if keeping the truth was still right. One afternoon, as Amara sat weaving beads at the market stall, a familiar figure emerged from a sleek black car, her elder sister, Nina. She looked every bit the society woman she had always been, her gold bracelets glinting under the sun. "Amara," she said coldly, "you're still living like this? Look at you, selling beads on the street while that mechanic wastes your life away." Amara straightened. "Nina, I'm happy. I have everything I need." Her sister scoffed. "You call this happiness? You threw away everything for a man who can't even buy you a decent dress." Amara swallowed hard, but her voice didn't waver. "Love can't be measured by wealth, Nina. I chose him because he chose me, not for what I had, but for who I am." Nina laughed bitterly. "You'll regret it. When he leaves you, don't come crying back." As she walked away, Chike appeared from the corner, grease-stained shirt and all. He had overheard everything. His eyes burned, not with anger, but with resolve. That night, he sat Amara down. "There's something I need to tell you," he began, his tone low. "Something I should have told you long ago." She frowned. "You're scaring me, Chike. What is it?" Before he could answer, his phone rang, a number he hadn't seen in months. He hesitated, then answered. "Sir," came the voice of his family's lawyer. "Your father's condition has worsened. He's asking for you. The board is already preparing for your return." Amara's eyes widened. "Your father?" she whispered. He looked at her, guilt flickering in his eyes. "Amara, I'm not just a mechanic." She froze. "What do you mean?" He sighed, standing up slowly, as though the weight of his secret had finally crushed him. "My real name is Chike Okafor. My family owns the Okafor Group, and my father, he's one of the richest men in Nigeria." The silence between them was sharp, unbearable. Amara's breath trembled. "You lied to me?" "I didn't lie," he said softly. "I just wanted to be seen, not as a billionaire's son, but as a man who could love and be loved. I needed to know if someone could look at me without seeing my father's empire." Tears welled in her eyes. "Do you know what it feels like to lose everything, my family, my comfort, and then realize it was all for a lie?" He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Amara, I never meant to hurt you. I wanted to tell you, Just what?" she snapped. "You wanted to see if I was worthy? Was I your test, Chike?" Her words hit him harder than any slap. That night, Amara packed her small bag again. Only this time, she left without tears. Days passed. The city seemed colder. Chike returned to his family's mansion, a world of marble floors, chandeliers, and whispered judgments. His father lay in bed, weak but proud. "You've seen life beyond these walls now," his father said faintly. "Maybe you finally understand what matters." Chike nodded, but his heart was elsewhere, with the woman who had taught him the true meaning of love. Meanwhile, back in the city, Amara had started working at a small cafe, trying to piece her life together. But one morning, everything changed. The news flashed across every channel. Asterisk, Okafor Group announces new CEO. Chike Okafor returns home. Asterisk. Her hand trembled as she stared at the photo on the screen. He looked different, dressed in an expensive suit, surrounded by cameras. But those eyes, they were still the same. Still the man who had held her under the streetlight, promising to give her the world. That same evening, a convoy of cars stopped outside the cafe. Her coworkers whispered, eyes wide, as Chike stepped out, his gaze locked on her. She froze as he approached, his voice barely above a whisper. "Amara, I didn't come here as the CEO. I came as the man who can't stop loving you." But before she could answer, a familiar voice cut through the moment, her mother's. Amara. Her family had followed the convoy, drawn by curiosity, or perhaps guilt. They looked at Chike in stunned disbelief. You're the Chike Okafor?" her mother gasped. "The billionaire everyone admires?" He nodded slowly, his hand still reaching for Amara. Her family's expressions shifted instantly, from contempt to admiration, from rejection to desperation. "Amara, my daughter," her mother said quickly, "we were only trying to protect you. We didn't know he was." But Amara turned to her, eyes blazing with quiet strength. "No, Mama," she said firmly. "You rejected me because he was poor. But now that he's rich, you suddenly approve? Love isn't a price tag you change when it suits you." Her mother fell silent, shame painting her face. And as Amara turned back to Chike, tears filled her eyes, not of sadness, but of something deeper. Because even now, with the truth laid bare, she didn't know whether to step back into his arms or walk away forever. The cafe fell silent, the city lights flickering outside as both of them stood between love and pride, hearts still bound by a story the world had yet to finish. The tension between them thickened, a heavy silence that neither of them dared to break. Amara's heart pounded as she met Chike's gaze. Those familiar eyes that once brought her comfort now stirred confusion and pain. He stood before her in a tailored suit, exuding power and confidence. Yet beneath all that wealth and prestige, she could still see the man who had once fixed broken engines with bare hands and shared roasted corn with her under the bridge on rainy nights. "Amara," he said softly, his voice trembling just slightly, "I never stopped loving you. Every moment without you felt empty. Every breath reminded me of the life we built together. Please, let me explain." She wanted to say something, but her throat tightened. The faces around them blurred, her mother's eager smile, her father's awkward nod, her sister's thinly veiled envy, all of them suddenly meaningless. "Explain what, Chike?" she whispered. "That everything we shared was a lie? That while I was counting coins for rent, you were watching me struggle just to see if I'd give up on you?" He stepped closer, the air between them charged with a desperate energy. "No, Amara. I watched you fight for love. I watched you stay even when you had every reason to walk away. I hid my world from you because I was terrified that if you knew who I really was, you'd stop loving me." Tears filled her eyes again, but she blinked them back. "And what if I did? What if I couldn't handle your world? You made that choice for me, Chike. You didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth." He hesitated, the truth of her words piercing deeper than any insult could. Around them, the murmuring crowd began to disperse, sensing the intimacy of their conversation. Even her family slowly stepped back, realizing this moment was not theirs to interrupt. Chike reached into his pocket and took out a small, silver bracelet, the same one she had once sold to a market woman for a few naira when they were broke. It had been her first creation, a symbol of the life they were trying to build. "I kept this," he said, his voice breaking. "Every day, I looked at it and remembered why I fell in love with you. You made me see the world through the eyes of someone who values people, not possessions. You taught me humility, Amara." She stared at the bracelet in his palm, tarnished, a little bent, but still whole. Something stirred inside her, a memory of laughter, of shared dreams, of the man who had always believed in her craft even when she didn't. For a moment, she almost reached out, But then she pulled her hand back. You can't fix this with memories, she whispered. You broke something deeper than trust. You broke us. He took a step forward, desperate now. Then let me rebuild it. Let me prove to you that I didn't choose to deceive you. I chose to protect what was real between us. Amara shook her head. You think love needs protection from truth? You were wrong, Chike. Love needs honesty, not tests. Her words hit him like a blade. He opened his mouth, but before he could respond, her mother interjected again, her tone overly sweet now. My daughter, she said quickly, don't throw away your future because of pride. Look at him. He's powerful, respected. You'll never have to suffer again. All those struggles can finally end. Amara turned to her, anger flashing in her eyes. So that's all that matters to you, Mama? Money? Comfort? You didn't care about my happiness when I was starving with him. You cared about appearances. And now you want to claim this moment as your victory. Her mother's face tightened, but she said nothing. Chike lowered his voice. Amara, please, come with me. Let's talk somewhere private. Just you and me. Her body trembled with hesitation, torn between pride and the ache that had never left her heart. Finally, she nodded slightly. Fine, but only to talk. They stepped out of the cafe and into his car, sleek, black, and silent. The city lights streamed across the windows as the car moved, neither of them speaking, the hum of the engine the only sound between them. When they arrived at his estate, a sprawling mansion surrounded by tall palms and fountains that glittered under the night sky, Amara's breath caught. It was a different world entirely, the kind she had only seen in magazines. As they walked through the marble hallways, the servants bowed respectfully. She felt small, misplaced, a stranger in the life of the man she once thought she knew. Why bring me here? She asked quietly. Chike turned to her. Because this is where my truth begins. You deserve to see everything I hid, and to understand why I did. He led her to his late father's study, a room lined with portraits and heavy books. My father used to tell me that money can buy loyalty, but never love, Chike said softly. After his death, I realized he was right. Every woman I met wanted the Okafor name, not me. Until you. She looked away, fighting the sting in her eyes. Then why didn't you trust me to be different? Because, he said, voice raw, I'd already been betrayed by people I thought I could trust. I couldn't bear to lose you too. Amara turned toward the window, her reflection pale against the glass. The garden outside shimmered with golden light, a stark contrast to the life they once shared in darkness. You don't understand, she whispered. When I was with you, I thought I'd finally found someone who saw me, not for what my family wanted, but for who I am. You made me believe in love again, and now I don't even know what's real anymore. He took a step closer, his hand trembling slightly. This, he gestured between them, is real, Amara. It always was. I might have lied about who I was, but not about what I felt. Every word, every touch, every sacrifice, they were real. She closed her eyes, letting his words sink in, but her heart remained guarded. You can't just walk back into my life because you have power now. Love isn't a fairy tale that resets when the truth comes out. I know, he said softly, but I'm not asking for forgiveness tonight. I'm asking for a chance to earn it. Her chest tightened. She wanted to believe him, to melt into his arms and forget the pain, but her wounds were too fresh. She turned away again, her voice breaking. You should have trusted me, Chike. You should have let me love you in truth, not in half-truths. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small envelope. Then let me start making it right. This is for you. She frowned, taking it hesitantly. Inside was a deed, her name written in elegant cursive. It's for your jewelry business, he said. A space of your own. Fully funded. You once dreamed of opening a store, Amara's Touch. I made that dream real for you. Not as a gift, but as a promise. You inspired it. Her fingers trembled as she stared at the paper. Every emotion collided inside her. Disbelief, gratitude, confusion, pain. I didn't do this to buy your forgiveness, he added quickly. I did it because I believe in you, the same way you once believed in me. Amara looked up at him, her lips parting as if to speak, but no words came. The man before her was no longer the mechanic she had fallen for, nor the billionaire the world admired. He was something in between, vulnerable, flawed, but still the man whose love had changed her life. The silence stretched between them again, heavy and intimate. Somewhere in the distance, the rain began to fall, soft, rhythmic, and strangely familiar. And as the sound filled the air, Amara's mind drifted back to that first night under the streetlight, when he had promised to give her the world. Maybe he was still trying to keep that promise. But whether her heart would let him, she didn't yet know. She turned toward the door, unsure if she was leaving or just stepping away to breathe. Behind her, Chike whispered, "Amara, don't walk away again." Her hand froze on the doorknob. Her heartbeat quickened, and she closed her eyes, torn between the life she'd known and the love she still couldn't let go of. The rain grew louder, echoing through the halls like fate itself, waiting, watching, as their story continued to unfold. The night whispered softly through the vast gardens of the Okafor estate, the rain now reduced to a tender drizzle that kissed the earth like forgiveness itself. The lights from the mansion shimmered against the wet stone, casting golden reflections that danced on the driveway where Amara stood, her heart torn between the pain of the past and the uncertain hope of the future. Inside, Chike waited, not as a billionaire, not as a man of wealth or legacy, but as someone stripped bare before the woman who had once seen his soul when the world only saw his money. His heartbeat thundered louder than the rain outside. Every moment without her had been a wound he carried in silence. But tonight, he knew he had to face the truth, whatever it cost. Amara turned slowly, her soaked dress clinging to her frame, her eyes glistening with both anger and sorrow. "Chike," she said quietly, her voice trembling but steady enough to break through the sound of the rain. "You say you love me, but love isn't something you hide behind lies. You watched me lose everything. My family, my home, my pride, and you said nothing." He moved closer, his voice low and raw. "Because I wanted you to love the man, not the name. I wanted to be sure you saw me, not the billions. I know it was selfish, Amara. I know I hurt you. But if I had told you the truth from the start, would you have believed that I was just another man searching for something real?" Amara's lips parted, but no words came. His eyes were honest, desperate, stripped of pretense. She could see the truth in them, and that scared her more than his lies ever did. He took another step, standing close enough for her to feel his warmth through the cold mist. "I built my life on walls, Amara. Every relationship, every friendship, it was always about power, inheritance, image. But you," his voice cracked, "you looked at me like I was enough, even when I had nothing. You made me want to be better, not richer, not stronger, just real." A single tear slid down her cheek. She turned away, her gaze falling to the ground. "I believed in you, Chike. I fought for you when everyone told me I was foolish. I chose love over comfort, and I was ready to face the world for you. But when the world turned on me, you weren't there to tell me I wasn't crazy for believing in us." The air thickened with silence. The rain faded into a hush, as though even nature waited for what would come next. Chike's voice trembled when he spoke again. "You're right. I failed you. I thought hiding my identity would protect us, but it only broke what we had. I can't change the past, Amara, but I can spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt me again." Amara looked at him, the conflict still burning in her eyes. "Words are easy for a man with everything," she said softly. "But love requires more than apologies." He nodded slowly. "Then let me show you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, soaked but still intact. When he opened it, there wasn't a diamond or a glittering gem, only a simple silver ring, shaped like a loop of intertwined vines. "This isn't gold," he said quietly. "It's the same metal from the bracelet you made with your own hands. I had it melted down. I didn't want to give you luxury. I wanted to give you something that began with us." Her breath caught in her throat. He sank to one knee, not as a billionaire proposing to impress the world, but as a man surrendering his pride before the one person who had ever made him feel human. "Amara, I don't know if you can ever forgive me," he whispered, voice thick with emotion. "But I want you to know, I'm not asking you to come back into a life of wealth. I'm asking you to come back into my life, the one where love means truth, not pretense." Tears rolled down Amara's cheeks now, unrestrained. Every memory flooded back. The days in the small apartment, the laughter that filled the cracks in their walls, the nights he'd hold her close when the world seemed too cruel. He had lied, yes, but she had seen his truth long before the mask fell. Her heart ached with the weight of forgiveness she wasn't sure she could give, but couldn't stop herself from wanting to. "Chike," she said finally, her voice breaking, "you hurt me more deeply than anyone ever has. But the truth is, I never stopped loving you. I tried to hate you. I tried to move on. But every time I looked at the stars, I saw you in them." He looked up at her, hope flickering through the storm in his eyes. She took a trembling breath. "But love alone isn't enough. You have to prove that the man I fell in love with, the humble, kind-hearted mechanic who fixed my heart, still exists beneath this billionaire exterior." "I will," he said without hesitation. "Every day, in every way." And as if the heavens had been waiting for that moment, a rumble of thunder echoed in the distance, followed by a sudden gust of wind that sent the garden lights flickering. The ring in his hand glimmered faintly, not with the brightness of gold, but with the quiet beauty of sincerity. Amara slowly extended her hand, her heart trembling with fear and faith intertwined. He slipped the ring onto her finger gently, as though afraid it might vanish if he breathed too hard. The moment lingered, a fragile peace between two souls who had seen love at its most painful and pure. Then, from the shadows near the mansion entrance, her mother's voice broke the silence. "Amara." She turned. Her family stood there, her mother's face streaked with tears, her father beside her, guilt written across his features. Her sister Nena, once so proud, looked down, ashamed. "We were wrong," her mother said, her voice trembling. "We judged him for what he didn't have, and we lost our daughter because of it." "You were right, Amara. Love isn't about wealth. It's about heart." Amara's eyes softened, but she didn't answer. Her silence spoke louder than words. Forgiveness wouldn't come easily, but understanding had begun to bloom. Chike stepped forward, holding Amara's hand as he faced them. "Sir, Ma," he said respectfully, "I don't blame you for protecting your daughter. But I promise you, I will never be the reason she cries again. I'll honor her more than I honor my own name." Her father looked at him long and hard, then finally extended his hand. "Then you already have our blessing." Chike nodded, his grip firm, his gaze steady. But his attention remained on Amara, the woman who had taught him the meaning of humility, love, and truth. As the family gathered closer, the rain finally ceased, and a soft glow broke through the clouds. The moonlight spread across the wet earth like silver silk, wrapping the scene in ethereal calm. Amara turned to Chike, her lips curling into the faintest smile. "You know," she whispered, "I used to dream of moments like this, standing in the rain with you, when everything felt impossible. I never thought it would come true." He smiled, his hand brushing a tear from her cheek. "Maybe some dreams are worth fighting for, even the broken ones." The air was filled with the scent of rain-soaked jasmine, the soft rustle of leaves, and the unspoken promise of a new beginning. They stood there, not as two halves of a shattered past, but as two souls daring to rebuild what love had once nearly destroyed. And though the world around them had changed, though they stood now in wealth and luxury instead of poverty and struggle, their hearts still beat in the same rhythm that began on that quiet night under the streetlight, when love had been their only treasure. As the servants slowly drew the mansion doors open, Chike turned to her one last time. "Come home with me, Amara. Not to this mansion, but to the home we'll build together, wherever that may be." She looked up at him, her eyes glistening with emotion too deep for words. Slowly, she nodded. "Only if it's built on truth this time." He smiled, not the proud smile of a billionaire, but the humble grin of the man who had once fixed broken engines and now longed to fix a broken heart. "Truth," he said softly. "Always." Their fingers intertwined again, the same hands that had once struggled to survive now holding the promise of forever. Behind them, her family watched silently, a mix of awe and regret in their eyes. The world seemed to pause, time itself holding its breath, as the couple walked back toward the house, side by side, united not by wealth, but by the love that had survived lies, judgment, and pride. And as they disappeared through the golden doors, the rain began to fall once more, not in sorrow, but as a blessing, a whisper from the heavens that love, when true, always finds its way home. But deep within both their hearts, they knew this was not an ending. It was only the beginning of the love story they were always meant to write, not with ink and paper, but with courage, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bond of two souls who had found each other against all odds.